Two marker. What is going on, Alamo City Movie Talk fans? As always, I'm your host, Ryan D. Ryan 680.
And this is Lex, back at it again.
We're back, guys. Lex, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is, guys. Ted Lasso, episode 2, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 2, season 3. I don't want to go to Chelsea. And you're like, what? What does this even mean? Where's Chelsea? What's this? Because again, we touched up a little bit, not really on it on the last season, and we know it's a team, but why are we going to Chelsea? Why don't you want to go to Chelsea? Well, let's find out here. We're going to talk about spoilers, guys. At the very end, we'll talk about spoilers. But Lex, what did you think of this whole episode? You know, the runtime of this, the way it was flowing. Did you feel like this was, and then at the very end, is this better than the last episode? This is how the show's going to go, guys. We're going to talk about spoilers at the very end, and then we're going to go into our inner thoughts of what we thought of this episode 2. But yeah, Lex, what was your initial reaction out of this episode 2? I don't want to go to Chelsea.
I really like this episode. You're gonna hear me say that a lot about Ted Lasso.
I know,
not only biased, but it's just so good. My wife and we've been rewatching it, and she forgot most of the first season. And she's like falling in love again, right? And it's the same thing with me with every rewatch. With this episode being, new in the season, we're still trying to find out, okay, where are all these characters at? And I'm not getting into spoilers, but this episode kind of keeps going on that end and trying to let us know what new dynamics there are. They're picking up some stories from how last season left off. And there's some mystery around, right? Like we heard it in the last episode. They're talking about like, hey, should we look at our roster and see what improvements we could make? This episode centralizes a lot around that idea.
Yeah, this episode really, I like the way it opens up too, because it opens up with Keely, it opens up with the whole dynamic of her company, because it's you kind of feel like she wants to make it more fun, energetic, like let's have a party. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she essentially, that's a good. Hey, I didn't think of that. That's a good point. So she essentially wants to make it like Richmond, like makes it like a family and all this stuff. Have everyone talk about everything and just have everyone just like just conversate with each other and have a great time at work, right? At work, at your job. And it doesn't plan out like that. Keely's just like, it's more of a company based, more, I don't want to say more. Yeah, it's very traditional. Yeah. I want to say strict because she's not really strict.
That's no. But I get you. And for people out there in the workplace right now, right? Like we've lived this probably, right? Like, there's of course you have your blue collar, white collar jobs and things like that. But we've all been in a place where it's like, hey, by the book, right? Like we're playing on the same system that has made money to this business for hundreds of years, right? So like, we're not here to make friends. There's a lot of places like that, and nothing wrong with it. But Keely's clearly fond of that, Ted Lasso vibe that was created. And that's part of the reason why Ted Lasso and Keely always got along from the get-go. There was no animosity between them. They always accepted each other. They're bright spirits.
Yeah, even when they both saw each other for the very first time, with even though Jamie with everything, Jamie being a dick and everything, it's very intuitive of each other. I like that a lot about them because they really hit it off in the very first or second episode. I can't remember, about when she was dressed up as a lion, season 1. I thought that was a really good, touching story. And then Becca tried to twist it and say, "Oh no, is something going on?" And regardless of the fact of the matter is that they're really good friends. They really are. And I love their chemistry towards each other. I love seeing both of them really just, I don't want to say like rub off on each other like in a right way. Like it's weird to say. Ted Lasso has always been a show and will always be a show to my heart and soul. It will always be a show of good people doing good things, which is very rare. You always, with TV shows, with movies, with DC, with Marvel, it doesn't matter. There's always a bad guy, right? You really don't. I mean, in this case, Rupert's the villain in a way, but not necessarily throughout the whole series. It's been like, oh, Rupert's been the villain, whatever. It hasn't really been like that per se. It's been like misguided, misconnections, mistrust in other people, and it's never been a full on like, this is the main villain, this is the Thanos of Ted Lasso, this is the the Dark Sidious, even though Ted Lasso and Jason does mention like, hey, a lot of our shows are based off of that, based off Star Wars. And I get that, it's one of those things to where it's so good. It's just really heartwarming to see good people do good things in the show and to really focus a lot on the good of humanity. And I like that a lot. I like that because it really emphasizes on that. It inspires us. It inspires, myself to really be a better person and everything. And I love that because it's like, oh, you want to be, are you the Roy Kent in your life? Maybe you want to be the Ted Lasso in your life. Maybe you want to be the Keeley in your life, or the Roy Kent or the Danny, just, or maybe you were Jamie. Maybe you were Jamie. Maybe you were Dick. maybe you have these intuitive characters to where like they get to see each other, how they started into now. And I love that. I love with this episode, we get I think we get the guy that wants to write the book in this beginning episode.
Whoa, Trent Krim.
Oh, Trent Krim. There you go. They no longer independent, Lex. He's a nobody now. Be like,
so can we talk about the story beats on this one? Are we doing like?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's spoilers? Or?
No, not spoilers yet. I apologize. I skipped ahead.
Okay. Well, just Trent Krim makes an appearance. We'll leave it at that. But like I said, right? We knew his character is headed in a direction. He took a big step last year in being able to disclose to Ted, who he sees as a friend or someone that he respects. He disclosed that Nate was his source for the panic attack leak, which was insane. And Trent even said, "You understand why I have to publish this as part of my job." But at the same time, you could tell that broke him a little bit. Like, yes, no one forced him to publish it, but you could tell that he wasn't fulfilled with that anymore, right? So all I'll say is in this episode, if you were kind of like, starting season 3, you were kind of keeping an eye on that and seeing like, I'm hoping I see more of Trent Krim. Just watch this episode, enjoy this episode. There's a lot of interesting components. There's a Roy storyline in here, and if you guys don't recall, Chelsea, which is in the title, was Roy Kent's former team. It was the team that he grew up with, and actually the team that he became like the legend in. It wasn't only until he was like past his prime that he then went ahead and went to Richmond. So that plays an interesting story here, and overall, it's just an episode full of once again that continuing story. And for a moment, this episode poses a question of like, okay, do we need new blood in the team? And as an audience member, you're kind of torn with like, no, I've been growing up with these two, like this group of people for like the last 2 years. I think we're good, but Richmond at the end of the day has not played very well. So
they haven't been a contender. They haven't been a playoff contender.
And they're already dealing with the pressure of, right? Like everyone's saying
they're back in the Premier League.
They're not gonna do good. So
but going back to like the whole, the whole story, the way this unfolded, the runtime of this episode.
I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, I was happy with it too. It was better than the last episode.
47. I think the last one was 47 too.
Okay.
You mean the pacing?
The pacing was way better than this one than I thought in the last one. Now, I really enjoyed the episode 1, but I didn't love it. I did not love episode 1. I enjoyed this one more than I did enjoyed the first episode. And because the first episode's always, but Ted Lasso has always done this every season. The last 2 seasons, they've always done this. Episode 1 is usually not the boring episode per se, but people want to use that poor context. Not the boring episode, but just more of a setup. It sets up the ground and the tone, how this series is going to go. And I love that. I love how they do that. I love how Ted Lasso does. I love how much it really it's so constructive to where it stays on the course. We're going to do this story and we're going to talk about it. We might touch up a little bit on Sam. We might touch up a little bit on someone else. Maybe you never know. But the point is that if they have their own episode, because we did get, what was it, last season or the season before that? I can't remember. But we got a Beard's episode.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was last episode.
It was last season.
Last season, yeah. So but it's still it wasn't a waste because it was something very different that we've ever gotten before. a little bit more story, and it touched and chimed in. Spoiler: it chimed in on Jamie's dad, which is another connection to another character. So like, it didn't really like fall off the wagon. It didn't do that at all. It connected it all, and it just made it flow so natural and so well. But this episode, I gotta say, yeah, it was better than the last one for sure. I think the whole emphasis on just the title itself, I thought that's a really good title choice. The pacing, the editory, the way this movie was edited, I felt like it was very edited very well. This show. I'm sorry, this show that it was edited very, very well. It's definitely I keep going back to saying movie again. I don't know why. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. We saw a lot of movies this past week, but yeah, not enough TV shows. But yeah, so going back to this whole comedy too. I love how like reactions we got out of different people when people found out a certain piece of news. People reacted, and I like that because it's like you're reacting with the characters along with them. And it's like they really emphasize on like surprises, on being surprised. Yeah, I like that a lot. I really do. I'm not gonna lie, I like that a lot because it just, once again, it feels natural. But yeah, I'm gonna say that without getting into spoilers, right? Without getting into spoilers, even though I did mention one already. But yeah,
no, absolutely. And I think the last thing I'll say about this episode is just, I personally still really like the first episode. Not saying you said you didn't, but yeah, I gotta admit, like, here things get going. You're kind of seeing the direction that the season is taking, and once again, new characters continuously getting introduced. We saw in episode 1, right? Like, there's Rebecca, not Rebecca, I'm sorry, Keely's team, and the dynamic that she has within the office. I know you mentioned it, but there's characters inside of that office, right? And people that can get expanded on. And so I like, once again, it's just, this is where things are getting going. It's an extremely fun episode, a lot of great laughs, and a lot of good moments as well between different characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree too as well. It touches up on a lot of stuff that almost necessarily hasn't been, knowing it's a new atmosphere. They're touching up on the new characters, like you already said, the new challenges is upholds. I would say, because it's gonna be a challenge to where you're gonna have multiple storylines here. That's the huge challenge for me. That's the thing I'm really looking forward to, is how they naturally intact it all, how they keep it together, because you can only go so far knowing, and we know that's not a spoiler, guys, this is the last season. So it's like you have to put the nail to the coffin, just really just like finish off this story in the right way, in the most perfect, best way we can, right? I mean, because this is it's done after this. Sad, but it just, it sucks after 3 seasons it's already done. But I mean, it's just one of those things to where I guess it wants to close. I guess the creator, Jason was just like, I'll close it myself before I milk it, before it seems like a milking show. But I kind of feel like, hey, I mean, if this was the plan all along, I'm on board for it. But yeah, I mean, Roy Kenton here, we saw him in the last episode too. I'm starting to like him more. He's less Roy Kenish in a way, but also he's developed a more emotional aspect of himself. I don't think he ever knew. I think Keely brought that out of him last season. And I like that, man. I like that a lot. I think Keely and his niece, I believe, brought it out. She brought it out of Keely's
niece, but
not Keely. No. Roy's niece, and she brought it out a lot of him too, but it was never like in the ball club or in at work. So I kind of feel like Keely just brought it out of him. And even so though, I thought it was really good. But I'll have to. I enjoyed this episode. I'm trying not to mention too much spoilers. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. But let's get right to it, man. All right, guys. If you have not, we're just gonna dive right into it. If you have not seen episode 2, or you just do not care, by all means, let's talk spoilers. Spoilers, guys. We're gonna talk about spoilers because I don't know about you, Lex, but it's very hard for me not to talk about so much different stuff. We're gonna go to the main plots here. We're not gonna touch up on every single plot detail here, but we're gonna touch up on the main ones, of course, the main twist that we get in here, and also Is there a new player? Let's find out, guys. All right, let's get right to it, Lex. Again, guys, spoilers. Let's get right to it. So Trent Crimm, we mentioned earlier in the episode, which is my fault, guys. Trent Crimm is writing a book on Richmond. And I kind of felt that's good. I mean, in a way, it's good. But at the same time, I loved how Becca, Keely, they were like, oh, we're going to leave it up to you, Ted. And they're just like, no, they're just like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You think this is a bad idea? Because of the writing history we have gotten of Trent.
Yeah. So Trent has probably been critical and honest in the past of Richmond. I can see why the rest of the team doesn't think it's a good idea. At the end of the day, you can see like Ted as a person has also impacted who Trent Crimm is. I think a big part of it is, he doesn't write in the same way that he used to. Perhaps before he was just critical because he saw people doing the same thing, right? Trying to manage the club and just trying to do football-y things. But then when he saw something different, he started writing different of Ted, right? Like we had that whole episode in the first season that was very impactful where, even though he thought he was like, a wanker, like as they say, right? He realized like, hey, I can't laugh if this guy loses because the way that he's doing things is, he's trying to make everyone better. And so I think Trent has figured out that he has a bigger calling. And he is appreciative of the change in how Richmond has been managed. So I think at the end of the day, if he's trying to grab a book and trying to grab the essence of that, I don't think it's a bad idea. Will we don't know for sure, right? But will Trent's old habits kick in, right, in terms of his expose, like journalistic style, like we don't know. And I think that's what's scary about this. But at the end of the day, it's something that I like for the character.
I'm a little on the fence, but I kind of feel like that. I think this is his redemption to himself. Like, I'm not just gonna write about bad things anymore. I kind of feel like you're right. Like Ted Lasso has really touched his heart, has really made him more not emotional, but made him more intuitive of his feelings of like, oh man, all I wrote was just bad stuff. What if I write something encouraging? What if I write something inspiring? And one thing in my life right now that inspires me to do good and gets me going or gets me to a happy place is Ted Lasso coach, is the coach, the manager, Ted Lasso. What if he just wants to be a part of that Richmond energy, that Richmond encouragement? Yeah. I love that. That's really good. That's really good. I like that a lot. I really do. And this could be his redemption story, like this could really be,
and not necessarily that he needs redemption, but like he
but of the bad drama. I mean, you got to remember he is the person that released the Ted Lasso. Whether that's facts, he's the reason why it got out.
He leaked the
But Nathan's the real villain here, and people are like, oh, at the same time though, we're not gonna get to the drama. I bet you, I don't like Nathan. I don't like Nathan at all. I mean, I think he's a piece of crap. But do you think we're gonna get a redemption story out of him this season?
I think so. If you think about it, wait, think about it.
I know it's leading up to that, but I don't want to. I don't
not
want
even
to.
leading up to that. Everyone in this show has been forgiven at one point, right? Like Jamie Tart was an asshole. He did some bad shit.
But he didn't do as bad as Nate.
I understand.
You have to understand that.
No, I do.
I mean, he was just being
we already know, like Ted's not holding a grudge. Like we can see that.
That is the problem. I think he's hiding the grudge, which is worse. I think he's hiding not necessarily a grudge. I think he's hiding the emotions of the anger that he never could.
I think it's sad.
Cast it out.
I think he's sad. He's sad of the way that
I think he's angry and sad. But I think
could be angry. Yeah. Ted feels those emotions.
You remember in the last season. Remember he even said it. What did I do, Nate? Remember he yelled at him. What did I do? What did I do with that drove you to this? And then he was and then Nathan's response was just idiotic. But I mean, I just didn't understand. I just didn't understand it. It's not idiotic. I just didn't understand it. I was like, dude, bro, like you want all the attention or what? I don't know. I don't understand what you want. Like, dude, he put all the attention onto you. Like it just like he's a
No,
manager,
so
but yeah,
once again, Eileen and I were rewatching
yeah,
the right now we're on season 2 rewatching it. I told her like we both point out at moments where we know that Ted, he didn't mean harm, but he did some things that made Nate feel like like dismissed. And a lot of it
yeah,
is Nate's internal thing, right?
well,
Like he's insecure clearly, right? He
yeah,
has problems on his own.
from
But
from his
but
dad, I think,
but I was
yeah.
talking to Eileen today. Is like it's not like Ted is not like blameless. Like there was things that he did.
You talking about the time where whenever he showed up when he was signing divorce papers, he was drunk and he
No,
yelled at
no, no,
Nathan?
no.
Oh,
No, that's one thing. That was the first thing on season 1, but on
yeah,
season 2 there's more stuff. That's the
yeah,
progression of Nate as a villain. On season 2 there's multiple moments like when he actually gets Roy back as coach. They have a first match. Well, first of all, that
yes.
already made Nate feel
Nate
insecure
mad,
having Roy
yeah.
back, right? Yeah. Once again, that's internal,
Richmond
but
royalty.
but there was like the game that they had after they scored and they won or whatever, and Nate was gonna go like celebrate with Ted, and Ted just kind of like pushes him aside and then goes and hugs Roy. But it's very subtle. I didn't catch it on the first watch, but seeing it
Yeah.
again, knowing
Again, it's
where
attention,
Nate
bro. It's attention, dude. It's like,
part of it is that, but if you see like how he's neglected by his father, right? Like
yeah,
he's been seeking approval from someone. So the moment that he got it from Ted, and Ted is a super
yeah,
positive person, but then he sees that Ted, looks at someone else now, like Ted is done with him, he
yeah,
gets insecure about all those things. I'm not defending Nate.
yeah.
Trust me,
No, yeah,
I felt like I wanted to beat him
yeah,
up too at the end of last season.
yeah,
But you asked me, do I think there's redemption there? I believe so because we've already
yeah.
kind of seen his feelings, and he has to go to
True.
this really dark place to say really mean things, but
Yeah,
it's not who he is by default. He has to switch to that, and Rupert is kind
yeah,
of leaning him to do that. But in this episode, one of the things I wanted to cover is, we see also like the negative effect that Rupert has even on Rebecca now as a
yeah,
competitor, right? Like she's no longer in the abuse mode where she allows him to have power over her as the ex-husband, but now they're just competitors and she wants to win, and she wants to get a special someone
yeah.
to
Let's
make
talk
that
about
happen.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about him, man. Oh man. Okay, so they add on a new character, guys. And
Well,
I,
we don't see very much of him towards
yeah,
until the
yeah,
end, right? But
yeah.
there's this
There's this
talk
talk, rumors, rumor mill, if you
of
will.
this legend of football
Yeah,
named Sava,
Sava.
and there's word
It's
that
funny.
he,
It's like
yeah.
Mufasa or something, because like Beard's like Sava,
Oh, he was like Sava. Yeah,
Sava.
everyone, even Danny. I love Danny's reaction
Oh
to
man,
like Sava. Everyone.
yeah,
So there's a rumor that wait. So well, at first there's a rumor that he wants to go to Chelsea,
yeah. But
right?
there's a rumor
And
that he wants to go in the Premier Leagues.
yes,
Yes, to the
and
Premier
then
Leagues. Yeah.
and then Rebecca, obviously they're like, hey, we should go after him, and then that
Well, no,
gets
no, no,
out.
no, no. Rebecca is like, oh, we don't need. He's just a high talent. And then when she finds out that West Ham
Oh,
wants
that
him,
Rupert wants.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Rupert
yeah.
wants him. She's like, let's
Never
get him.
mind.
Oh,
Let's
never
get it.
mind. We
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
him. We can get him. And then, yeah, it just comes to this plan to where like, since Rupert
Rebecca's
wants
just
him,
wanting.
I
Yeah.
want him. Yeah, and I'll be honest here. And Trent McCrim kind of touched up on that. And she was just like, so you're saying you're going after him just because your ex-husband is going after him? And she's
Yeah.
and I liked how they were just like, don't say it, don't
Yeah,
say it.
yeah, yeah. And she's like, "Yep,
Yeah, yep.
yeah, yeah."
And
The
he's all
whole bit
like,
was funny.
I like that. I thought that was pretty good. Pretty good
Yeah.
little touching story there. Or I'll take, I guess, if you will, a little reaction out of Trent Krim. More than I thought so, in a way. I just hope he doesn't write bad about Becca. But yeah, so it
I don't
just,
think so.
yeah,
Well,
and
and we
yeah,
see how I know we were talking about Saba, but we
yeah,
also in this episode we see the negative effect of Trent's work, right? Like
yeah,
Roy does not want anything to do with him. They announced to the team that he's writing the book, and he's like, he tells the whole team like, hey, don't say shit in front of this guy because fuck him. And so you see this whole dynamic throughout the episode of people just not wanting to talk near Trent because of the things he's done in the past. And I think that's a very good story too, because we get some resolution towards the end where Roy has held like a piece of paper that Trent wrote back when he was a kid, like just a teenager. Right?
I'm telling you, man. Critics and people, it hurts, man. Words hurt. They hurt people, and
if you say they don't, stars that you give out, man, it's hurting directors.
I know. Whatever. You of all people should know that I don't. Yeah, I don't give out 5 stars all the time. No. It's rare. I'm talking about 10. I'm just kidding. 10.
I'm totally kidding. But no, and they read what he says, right? And Trent was admittedly harsh. Like he thought Roy was not going to amount to anything, pretty much.
Yeah. And let's mention that 11/11 wish time. Do you do that, or sometimes I do it?
That.
Okay, sometimes I do
that because I always look at my clock when it's 11/11. Like it happens multiple times a month. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I think last week it happened twice. Last week, both in the morning and at night.
Really?
Yeah. So I always make my wish. But they actually set an alarm here, which is funny.
So they actually do a wish taking here real quick, and it's a little comedy here. And Danny is just so funny because he's like, "What? Wait, Trent Crimm's writing a book about oh my gosh, it was like a mixture between the players. That's fine. We're getting Savant. Wait, what?
It was just
mixing it.
I really love that's probably one of my favorite.
And Danny's all like, I was just making that wish. Yeah,
it's like
my wish. Quick. Yeah, my wish. I was just wishing that this moment or something like that. He says it's so funny, and it's so charismatic. It really is, Danny. Danny has a beautiful lock of hair, man. He's looking good with that hair. That hair looks so shiny.
Start letting mine grow.
Here we go.
I'm gonna try, dude. Look, it's getting longer.
Dang, there you go.
I'm gonna try it little by little.
All right, there you go. And yeah, it's so funny to see just a small little tidbit of comedy, really, just to really carry the story.
So well written. It's like they plant little things, right? Like we're talking about the 11/11 thing, but then that wasn't just like a Ted and Beard thing, right? Danny also did it. It's just very subtle, smart writing that hits you in all the right places comedically.
Yeah, and you already mentioned it already, but Roy Kent told everyone to stop talking to Trent Crimm because of that hurtful thing that he did. We really don't find that out to the end of the episode, but you're kind of like, why is Roy Kent holding this grudge? And even so, though, Danny's like, good job, welcome to the team, right? Whatever. And then they slap him, and he's like, fuck you, Roy Kent.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious, dude. I was just like, Danny's looks so cute when he's mad, dude. It was hilarious. I don't care what, it was really good. It was really good. Yeah. I enjoyed that. And then Keely, we get to see Keely make a new friend here in this, or an old friend, an old acquaintance comes into her life, and we see a new character come in. It's so good when you could hardly tell there's a new character, like it's not forced upon to yourself, like how Rise of Skywalker and all the other the last 2 Star Wars movies. It's so intuitive to where this is good writing versus not so good writing like the last 2 Star Wars movies. I'm just I'm just saying that Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, but not to force us on these new characters. It still stays on that main course. That main entree, but you get a few appetizers along the way. You get a few. Maybe you get a side. You never know. And I love how we get a little bit of touching up on here, because Keely's started her own company now. You really don't see her involved a lot. I mean, not as much with the team anymore, right? Because she's in charge of her own company, and so I kind of felt like they needed to have that. I like that they did it, and I didn't know I needed it until I saw it, but needed that new character development between her and her new friend, because it's like, oh, she's not by herself because otherwise it would have just been her by herself filming and doing all these promos. It would have been not boring, but it would have been a little bit boring to see
Well,
that.
and what's interesting about that is like she's talking to her friend, and her friend talks about how within their group of friends of like models and stuff like that, they talk about how Keely, like, she made it out, and she's like, what do you mean by that? And it's like, well, you made it out because you went, like, you exited the world of modeling, which is sometimes,
it's hard.
It's very tough because sometimes they, like, these women and men, just everyone in general that works in modeling, you may think that that's all they amount to, or that's all they're good for, and there's a short time frame for that kind of profession, right? Because once you start getting older, like, the sad truth is, like, it's not a world for all ages, at least the mainstream stuff.
That's your Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So
everyone's DILF.
So they
quoted by my wife, not by me, by the way. You want to put that on. But yeah,
so they talk about Keely, like, making it out and just being successful at what she's doing. So she takes that to heart, it seems.
Yeah.
She
did
wants
you notice?
Her friend.
Yeah. Did you notice on that scene though that, like, when she's talking with her friend, that she said, "Oh, you made it all by yourself," and Keely kind of had a small reaction to that by herself. Did you notice that a little bit? Like, she was just like,
I think so.
Yeah, she was hurt because she's still hurting of the Roy can and the Keely. Let's talk about the Roy Keely breakup. Oh my God.
I thought she just said that because, I mean, Rebecca helped her a lot. I don't know if it's because...
No, I know, but I kind of felt like that it was just like, oh, you made it out by yourself without it, because she mentioned, this person's married a football player, this person married a football player, and like, you know what I'm saying? Because it was in that conversation.
I might have missed it. But the second biggest thing probably, there was a lot of story here.
Everyone freaked out. Freaked out. Like, what? Oh, boy! And then Ted Lasso freaking fainted, and it was just like, what the heck is going in that same locker room scene? And even so, though, we saw Jamie, and I forget his name. They were looking at
McAdoo, Isaac McAdoo,
and they're both looking at Roy and Keely, and he was just like, oh yeah, Roy and Keely broke up. They definitely broke up. I said, what do you mean? Jamie's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He's like, look, his something buttocks. I forgot what he said about his butt.
Body language.
He's like, just, it's all awkward. She's like awkward. It was reading into it a lot. And then Jamie, the way he said it was just like, body signs. I think that's what he says. Oh yeah, your body signs. I was like, what? I was like, dude. Dude. Oh.
Yeah, no, and I like that Jamie. There was one point where, like, Roy was like, "Oh, you're trying to check on me just to see if you can go at her or something like that," and he's like, "No, I'm actually, like, checking to see how you are," and I could tell that he was being honest because it's just so funny how, Jamie has grown a lot as a person to the point where, they have mutual respect, him and Roy, and he sees him as a coach now. And so I just really like that moment too, because for a moment you're like, oh, what is Jamie trying to do? But in reality, he's checking after a friend, which is awesome. But yeah, we're all very torn that Keely and Roy aren't together, and we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next episodes left, because I don't know. Are they coming back together? I put out a theory last season, I think.
Dang,
but hopefully they come back together.
And then we go into the Chelsea football game, and we get to see exactly the stadium. I don't know about you, but I feel like we're getting a lot of good football this season.
Yeah, it's being more incorporated. I think.
More so. I like this way better because more so it's like they go out, and then they just show them reacting when they come back from the locker room.
Yeah, it's usually like less than 5 minutes.
And I don't like that. Like, that was my only negative, if you will, about the show, because I was just like, well, I kind of like to see them.
It's not as much about football.
I get it, but I just want to see them struggle, because we don't know what they're struggling. We don't know if Roy Kent had a crappy game. We don't know if Danny maybe, like, it's just
sometimes they skip over that.
We don't know what's going on, and then they explain it, but you're like, I'd rather watch their reaction to it, like Danny's reaction killing that dog last seasson. Like, it just seems.
Well, I didn't want them to show that.
No, I know that, but like, but his initial reaction to it, they showed.
And then usually the shots with the football field, like, it just either the game has already started or the game finishes shortly after.
It's already
I
done.
totally get you. No, this for sure. I'm pretty sure they shot this in the actual stadium from Chelsea.
Yeah, it
I
looks
forget
good.
the name of the stadium, but it was great. You could tell there's a scale to it, and the stakes are high because once again, Sava is looking at maybe signing with Chelsea, and I mean,
and that's why
to wrap it up, Ryan, we can talk about like the big moment where I think it's like, you know, there's this whole question of who's gonna finally get Sava.
Yeah,
Chelsea, they make it sound like it's a done deal. I
it's
know
a done deal.
had
Yeah,
like a
person
on the
he's
inside.
all like, I knew a person who could read lips in a flight, and all he said was Chelsea a lot. And then let's skip through real quick. And then Rupert shows up. Rupert shows up in the scene, and we're like, you jinxed it. Becca's like, you jinxed it. You jinxed it. Keely's like, you jinxed it. And he's all, oh god. Like,
and Rupert is doing Rupert
charming,
things, right? Trying to seduce.
And then also
the dark side.
Yeah, and also we get a little bit of a chime, a little bit small development, which I thought was really good. We get to see Becca really come in and really share us an emotional story between her and Rupert that I never
the way that she want her, right?
While he was still married, and while he was still married, and you know, all the, you know, we're not gonna go into the whole, we're not gonna tell you the whole story, but pretty much that whole story context brought so much light into how much of a villain Rupert is. I feel like it gave us more light in that darkness. Like, dude, this is the kind of guy that can manipulate a person, who can make someone feel special even though they're not, and to just treat everyone like the same and treat people like they're puppets, because that's the way it kind of came across, because it was just like, dude, Rupert's the true, he's the Dark Sidious, he's the Empire, he's the Emperor. This is it, man. And if it doesn't go his way, he goes, you know, he gets out, you know. And Nathan's like the Darth Vader. He's just like, he's struggling with his own ambition, because he wanted all the credit. Now he gets all the credit. Now it's like, dude, but you're stuck with Rupert, because now Rupert treats you like crap in a way, you know.
I mean, he's showing it, like he's like, you know, he got him that car and all that stuff.
But he's just trying to smother him with gifts so that way he doesn't see the real villain he is.
Exactly. And here, right, like he does it on Sava, and it seems,
and it works. It looks like it's working. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then Rebecca does something that
I did not see this coming.
Like Sava, right? Like Sava is like Jamie Tart on steroids. Like he is egotistical. He knows he's a legend in the sport. He knows he can go to whatever team he wants. But Rebecca actually calls him out on his shit, and actually talks about something that is talked about in sports a lot, right? Like, okay, you can go and be the best in one of the best teams already, but what if you go to the team that like is not doing so good, and then you elevate them, right? Like, what does that do to your legacy? And Rebecca's saying this and cursing him and all that shit.
But before that, I like this because Rupert is like, oh, this is my ex-wife, this is Richmond, and all this stuff, and like Savage just like, okay, like whatever, he's whatever about her.
He dismisses her.
Just like dismiss. Yeah, exactly, because he already won the charm of Rupert, and Becca has the balls to go into the men's restroom and like call him out on everything, like you already said. I was just like, that was good, that was great. I thought that was a really good development we got out of Becca
using her strengths, right? Like sometimes she shrivels a bit in the presence or
I just don't think she knows how to charm in a way. She really doesn't. And it's not everyone's strong suit, because even in season 2 or season 1, where Rupert shows up and it's like, I don't know how to charm the audience, it's always been Rupert's job. Whenever doing the fundraising. So I understand. I think it was season 1. You'll understand that. And it's like, oh man, like that's, everyone has their strengths, everyone has their faults, and I don't blame her. You like, just like, hey, she came in guns blazing, and you know, at the, you know, you're just like, holy crap, like, you don't care if it's going to, she already knows. Keely, they already know it's going to West Ham. They don't care. Then when they're walking out of the stadium, it's in a draw, by the way, guys. It's in a draw. And they walk out of the stadium,
which against Chelsea, that's that seems to be a good thing in here in the episode.
Yeah, sadly, it didn't go out the way that that Chelsea wanted, in a way, because the manager kind of manages that. He says that, and then, well, let's get eyebrows up. Let's, this is the highlight of the day. They even did a press junket for him, and like, he didn't even sign with the damn team. He's all like, no, I changed my mind. I will sign with Richmond. And boom, that was it, dude. That was it. Becca turned around. Keely turned around. They're like, holy smokes. Everyone's cheering.
That was the big moment.
Yeah. Rupert was just like, you twat. And then like just throws his phone. And I thought that was really good.
We could see Rupert. Rupert was really upset.
And then we also see at the very end of this episode, we see Ted really bring out his emotions more. Like be firm. Be not very, very different firm than we've ever gotten out of Ted Lasso with Roy Kent. Because we know the way Roy Kent is.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. That was something really special in this episode that I felt like we got way good development with Ted Lasso because he's never been that type of person ever.
He's done it a couple times, but no,
yeah, but like
real
what?
Sure.
He's done it 3 times out of this whole season, like this whole series, like 3 or 4 times.
No,
like,
I get you.
No, it's very limited. And to know he's doing it to Roy Kent of all people, right? Because Roy Kent's the more hard ass, he's the one that's more aggressive, he's the planted like a tree, I ain't moving, and so I love how Ted Lasso's like, I ain't pulling with anyone's crap. I'm coming out with my emotions. Yeah. And they explain it a lot in these last two episodes because of that. We see that growth there. We see like, I need to express myself more. And I love that. I really do. I love that a lot in this episode here. Again, I'm still digging. I still want that jersey, that Roy Kent jersey better come on sale because every time he's wearing it and I see it on camera, like I want it more and more and more. And maybe I don't know if we're gonna get shoes though, Lex. You think we're gonna get shoes?
I don't think so. I've told you from day one.
I know. Oh no, you said we were right or no?
No, I said we weren't.
No, we weren't. Sad, but
I don't think we are.
Yeah, but what did you think of this episode? Rating 1 out of 10. Tell me the highest, Lex. When you give this rating?
I'm gonna give this episode. I think this episode is a solid 8.2 for me.
Dang, I'm gonna go a little bit above you, 8.5.
Yeah, that's a solid rating. Yeah, no,
yeah,
really solid episode.
Surprising, I'm higher than you, which is rare because usually it's the other way around. Usually it's the other way around here, and I can't wait to see what's more in store for Richmond. AFC Richmond. And then I like how Jamie is the only one that reacts negativity to. He has that negativity already.
Yeah. He talks about like he's also like Ted thinks that the team that we have is fine.
Good. It's fine. Yeah.
I wonder if maybe that's a little more on the like selfish side because he knows he knows
what kind of person he is. He's
player.
Him. He's him. Yeah. I kind of feel like he sees himself a lot in the older self, and he doesn't want more of an icon than himself because he's essentially bigger than Jamie. He's a bigger icon than Jamie, and I feel like he feels threatened by it. Who wouldn't feel threatened by it? I'm just saying, we're human. He's getting felt threatened by it. Jamie's the only one that really took it negative. Danny was just a little cheering. Everyone was just laughed.
Everyone was excited.
Everyone was just excited to see and to have him come about. And I mean, I enjoyed it. And then also, before we end this episode, right, they touch up a little bit that I really did love with Roy Kent. I love that. The ending ends with Roy Kent's spreading and really expressing himself exactly how he felt in Chelsea to be back in that stadium. I love that. We get a little bit of different side to Roy Kent and a more grounded sense because, at that moment he played, he emphasized and he looked at Trent Krim a little bit and he was just like, I play like crap. But that day, it's sad. And Ted is like, what do you mean sad? What's wrong? Like, what, I kind of feel like he just wants to be into it. He doesn't want to have another Nate issue, right? So he's just like, what's going on? What happened? And Roy Kent actually says, just because that's the day that I knew I couldn't hack it anymore. It's the day I could not do. He knew I couldn't. I knew to myself that I could not do the job anymore. I can't play this game anymore. And it's tough because you're playing for so many years of your life. That's the only thing Like it's so scary to be like, what am I going to do next? Yeah. I have no it's one of those things to where it really touches up on that groundness of Roy Kent that I feel like we needed, we deserved. And it's really good writing when it comes down to Roy Kent's character development here, because, I would not have seen the character. If you would have told me season 1, we're going to see this character out of him, I would have been like, hell no, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. He's gonna ride Jamie, beat the living twat out of him, and just beat the living crap out of him, slap him silly. But yeah, I would not have seen that at all. And I like that because it's a huge character arc for him. And I kind of feel like they were all gonna have their own character arcs this season because this is the last season. Yeah. I feel like they're all gonna have their own.
There's wish the main cast, but then I think we're gonna see a lot from other characters too.
Yeah, definitely. I hope we get a Danny episode. I really do hope we get a Danny episode of him just like, oh, okay, guy, or like, because I think he I just want to see what his daily routines are. Like just one episode of his daily routine. Just you could even be a half an episode. Give me a whole episode if you don't want to, but give me a half episode of just like him of his mornings, of his of who his best friends are, or is it just a team? Yeah, I'm on board. But yeah, all right, guys. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to us. Thank you so much if you listened to us all the way through, guys. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Like, share, subscribe. Hit that subscribe notification to get notified for our movie reviews, TV reviews in this case, guys. And thank you so much for making us a part of your day. As always, I'm your host, Ryan D. Ryan680.
This was Lex. Thank you, everyone. We'll catch you on the very next episode.
Catch you later, guys. Stay safe, San Antonio. And AFC Richmond. That's all I got to say, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode. Go Richmond. Go Richmond. Richmond.